Hey guys, welcome back to another episode on the What I Love About Sex podcast. So first, I just want to start by saying if you have never left a rating or review for this podcast, especially on Apple, it would really, really help. It would help the algorithm so that more people see my show and listen and get the value that you're getting. And that would mean the world to me. So if you could even just pause this and write a review right now, if you're listening on Spotify, follow the show and also give it a 5-star rating. That would be incredible. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. All right. So today I want to talk to you about, how do I even explain this? If you're struggling with PE especially, this episode is going to be helpful, but you don't even have to be struggling with PE to be feeling this way. So a lot of my clients, a lot of the men I speak with will tell me that they have this, not discomfort, but it's just, they have this feeling about sex where it's like they're not sure if they're ever going to have it again afterwards. It's kind of like, okay, well, we finally had it, not sure when it's going to happen next, not sure who's going to initiate or how it's going to feel. And I'm not exactly sure how it went. I think she orgasmed, pretty sure she did. And, or it didn't go the way I wanted. And, I'm really upset about it because who knows when it's going to happen again. And there's all this uncertainty around, is it going to happen again and when and who's going to initiate and was it really great? I don't know, and talking to your partner is one thing, which I always, of course, tell you guys to do is to have check-ins to talk about your sex life and this and that. But if you are not at a certain comfortability level with your partner, then you're not going to be talking about sex. Like if you're not even talking about your relationship, if you're not even looking at each other in a suggestive way that you wouldn't look at anyone else like that, then you're not going to be talking about sex, So for those of you, especially with PE, you have to realize that if you're going from hardly any romantic touch or connection or verbalization with your partner, and then all of a sudden having sex, which has a lot of touch, right? The most intimate form of touch and a lot of connection. And when it's good, there's eye contact and there's saying things to each other that is pretty intense, right? Like if you are talking, it's like, so if you're never doing that on a daily basis or hardly ever, and that's not consistent, that type of, not the same type of touch, obviously, but if you're hardly ever touching or talking to each other like romantic partners or talking to each other in a connected way, and then all of a sudden you have sex, think about how much that is like a spike in your adrenaline, in your arousal. It's like, oh my God, like, holy shit, this is so outside of our norm. And that isn't helping your PE, right? Because it's making sex seem like it's this even more exciting, intense, crazy, overwhelming thing because you're not used to feeling anything like that outside of sex. When really, there should be constant foreplay in your relationship. And what I mean by that is constant writing each other notes or talking to each other in a sweet, sexy or romantic way, or giving each other little gifts and saying, hey, I got this for you, love you, like addressing the love you have for each other, addressing and acknowledging the fact that you're a romantic couple. You're not just friends, you're not just roommates, you are a romantic couple. So how are you showcasing that outside of sex? Because not only is this going to make sex feel less overwhelming for you, it's going to make sex feel more comfortable, more fun, more natural. You're not going to question whether or not you can talk about sex, or you're not going to question whether your partner's lying to you about your sex life, because you're creating all this opportunity outside of sex to have conversations and to show like, hey, I love you. I care about you. Let's have fun together. Let's be able to be flirty with each other. Let's be able to talk about anything with each other. If you don't have those points of connection and you're just talking about how was your day? Oh, good. Oh, great. How about the kids? Blah, blah, blah. And your life becomes about talking about the kids and you never talk about each other, then you're going to fall out of the place where sex is an extremely comfortable, natural, fun thing. And as I mentioned, especially for you guys with PE, you have to more so normalize these feelings of connection between you and your partner so that you don't get so overwhelmed and overstimulated when you're in the bedroom. And then you get upset and then you don't talk about it. And then you don't know when sex is going to happen again. And then you feel insecure initiating, right? It creates this whole horrible cycle that you don't want to be in. So I get that you might be in this place where you're like, all right, well, it's awkward. And I get that. It can be awkward to all of a sudden go from just talking about the kids to leaving a flirty note, right? But as I share with my clients, you want to start with where you're at, but you have to start. And it's going to feel awkward no matter where you start because you're going to push outside your comfort zone. And what that looks like is like, okay, if you're not used to, like I said, the example of you only talking about the kids with your partner or only really talking about logistics, right? Like talking about the weather, talking about your parents coming over or spending the weekend, or where are you going to book this hotel for this thing? And that's the only time you're communicating. Then maybe it's time to introduce a little PostIt note that says, can't wait to do this with you next weekend. It's going to be so much fun together. That's an example of going from hardly talking about anything personal to creating some of that connection. Okay? If you're already at that stage where you're like, all right, we do have somewhat of a connectedness between us, but it's nowhere near flirty, then maybe in your case, you take it a step up and you tell her something like, hey, you want to go on a date night with me this Friday? When normally you would say, hey, should we do dinner? Do you want to have a date together? Feels very different than should we do dinner at this restaurant? I'll make a reservation. Like there's a different feeling. There's a more personalness to it. There's a more connectedness. You're calling it a date. You're using the word together. Even just shifting your language to use more of the words together, we, us, it makes a big difference. It makes it more personal. Wherever you are in your relationship, you have to create more connection because there's a John Gottman quote, and he says, it's not something like this. I'm gonna butcher it, but it's something like, it's not about the big things. You have to focus on the little consistent things daily that strengthen and build your relationship. So there's too many people who are focused on, oh, okay, we don't want to be in a fight. We don't want to have any conflicts. We don't want to have to deal with all this stuff. Instead of looking at how are we continuously connecting? I hear a lot from men who are just like, well, we don't argue, so it's good. And I'm like, that doesn't mean it's good. like the amount of women who don't have orgasms and guys are like, oh, like, yeah, the sex is good. Like, she doesn't tell me she doesn't have an orgasm. Yeah, she definitely orgasms. Do you ask her? No, but I could tell. You can't tell. You can't tell. And it's most likely not good because there are many women who aren't orgasming and who can orgasm. It's just not happening. And then you're not talking about it together to find out. So just because there's no argument happening doesn't mean everything's great. You have to look more at the connection to know whether things are great. And things are great when you understand that you can look at your partner in the eyes for 5 seconds straight and just stand there and gaze at her and touch her hair and just smile at her. If you guys can do that together, that's a good sign. That's a healthy sign of connection and intimacy is healthy in your relationship. If you can have a moment like that. Maybe another example is is you talking about adventures you want to do together. Hey, should we do this together? What about this? Oh, this would be so much fun. And you're brainstorming and talking about things that just you two are going to do together. That's another example. When you get excited to spend time with just the two of you, and you could verbalize that. Another good example of connection and intimacy is when on a daily basis, you can touch each other and there's no pulling away. There's no turning away. There's no rolling eyes or acting grossed out. There's a way that you touch each other that you both enjoy and you like the touch. That's a healthy sign of connection. When you talk to each other, you're not getting distracted. You're not staring at your phone. You're actually looking at each other and talking to each other. When you're handling an argument, you stay until you figure it out together. Or you take a break and decide, we're going to come back to this, but I just need a break. But this is important, so I'm going to come back to this with you. You don't criticize. You don't belittle each other. You do not curse at each other, call each other any sort of names. Instead, you're lifting each other up. You're rooting for your relationship. You act every day as if you want to win as a team together. You act like you're in this life together. You make sacrifices for each other. You actually want to spend time and you enjoy your time together. Think about these are all examples of what show a healthy, strong relationship that sets this foundation for a sex life that is not uncertain. Because when you're doing all these things, then you can talk about sex very easily. Very easily. You can talk about it. And you're honest with each other too when you talk about it. So you actually hear what's really going on. Then you're able to be more comfortable with your partner. You're more used to touching. You're more used to kissing on a regular basis. And for you guys with PE, it's less likely for you to feel that overstimulation when it comes time for sex. Because it's the norm to be touching a lot, to have that sexual energy between you. Maybe not every day, and that's fine. You don't always have to have sexual energy every day, but there's that intimacy that is there. It's always present. The eye gazing, the hugging, the touching, the kissing, the talking about your relationship together, talking about us, we, planning things together, getting excited about it, having inside jokes, laughing with each other. This is the stuff that creates a norm of that intimate sexual energy that you bring into sex, and then the sex gets better because you're connected with this person, so you're comfortable trying different things. You know that if she doesn't like something, she's going to be like, oh, babe, can we actually do this instead? Okay. And then it's fine. It just flows. Everything flows. There's none of this, oh, I'm just not going to ask. I don't know. It looks like she's orgasming, so I'll just assume. There's none of that. Because you understand your person inside and out as your partner. You know them like no one else knows them. So ask yourself, what can you do to get more confident in your romantic relationship with your partner? What can you do to strengthen that on a daily basis? Think about the quote. Think about the small consistencies every single day. How can you, if you were to make, let's say 2 or 3 changes, what are some things you'd be more aware of and be more mindful of on a daily basis from now moving forward based on your situation? What would take you a little bit outside your comfort zone to be more connected with your partner and initiate that? And you just think of it like you initiating it, have 3 different options of things you could do. One of my clients and I were talking about this the other day, and he said, Well, we could cuddle every morning. Like that would definitely work. I know she'd be down for that, and we don't do that right now. And I'm like, perfect. That's a great one. And that's like an example of getting outside the comfort zone a little bit. Like he knows she would be cool with it because they do it and she's always down to do it, but they don't do it consistently. So incorporating that daily touch would strengthen their relationship in the long term because it's creating this sense of continuous connection. Okay. Another one could be what I mentioned earlier, which is the note one, leaving each other notes. That's very easy. You can make it about an inside joke. You can make it about a compliment. Maybe something about her looks really nice that day. You can be like, oh, I can't wait to do this with you, and just write a random note saying that before you leave one day. Like, it's the little thoughtful things. Think about when you were first dating, you were first trying to win her over. Like the little things you did, right? Like, did you buy her flowers? Maybe you bought her something else, like her favorite candy bar or something, Think back to what you did and like what would make sense now in your relationship. What are the little daily things? Can you help her cook dinner? Maybe it's unloading the dishwasher when she loads it. That's an act of, hey, I'm going to help you out with this. Like, we're on the same team and you're my partner. I want to live a happy life with you, so let me help you. That's not a very flirtatious one, but it's something that shows, hey, I care. I see you doing this. I'm going to help. Maybe it's just walking by her and smiling or smirking at her. Or calling her a name that you used to call her. Like, hey, hottie. Like something that's cute, or like a nickname you used to have for her that would bring up like a funny memory. Or just simply smile when you walk past. You get in this habit of just kind of seeing each other all the time, and you forget how special your relationship is. Like, this is your life partner. This is your life partner. Treat her differently than you treat other people. Treat her special. Work on connecting with her every single day, because that connection determines basically the happiness of your future. Right? So this is not just for her. It's not like we're bowing down to her here. It's like, how can you live the happiest life and the healthiest life and have the best sex life you can have, and do it in a way that strengthens your relationship, makes your partner happier, makes your partner feel like she has the best sex life and the best life. Like, you take action and you do it even though it feels awkward or uncomfortable. You do it anyway. I made a post yesterday on Instagram where I was talking about this new quote by Layla Hormozi, who's a business owner, and she's really big in the entrepreneur space, her and her husband, Alex, and just very inspiring couple, crazy power couple, like insane power couple, and very, very intelligent. And she has this new quote that's just everyone's taking off on, and she says, "Fuck your mood, follow the plan." And the whole meaning of it is we often let our emotions get the best of us and lead us to making decisions when really we can't do that, because of course our brain is going to be, our brain is always in survival mode. So whenever we feel a feeling like, oh, I'm scared or I'm nervous about this, or I'm too anxious to do this, or I'm too depressed to do this, I'm too nervous, like, we actually use it as an excuse instead of just realizing it's a survival mechanism and we're actually okay. It's just our brain looking out for us, and we can't make decisions based on our emotions, because otherwise we'd never fucking do anything great or hard, and then we wouldn't be proud of ourselves and we wouldn't really gain much confidence. Like, I don't know. I mean, I look back and think about all the hardest things, all the best moments of my life, the best moments, the moments I were most proud of. And it was hard to get there. Like, it took either a lot of courage, it took sleepless nights, it took me having to like fight myself in my head and these inner demons to like gain courage and confidence to do something. Like, it took reading a lot and staying disciplined. It took going to the gym even when I didn't want to. Like I just think about how hard and how much pain, how hard it was and how much pain I had to deal with to get to the other side, to all these great things that I've accomplished and felt really good about. And all of the emotions were telling me not to do it. Like, if I listened to my emotions on all those things, they'd be like, don't fucking do this. Like, stay where you are. This is not comfortable. But we only grow through discomfort. Like, you know, if we're just comfortable all the time, we stay in the same place. And that's how a lot of you guys think. You're just waiting for it to be easy. You know, like to that post yesterday when I was trying to give you guys courage, and I was like, you know, if it feels awkward to kiss your wife because it's been so long and you're like, oh, we don't really kiss anymore, it's kind of weird if we started. Like, do it anyway. If you feel needy sharing your sex needs, do it anyway. Because it's important to you. Do it. Take the action. You know, if you feel like you're never going to have sex again because you're scared that the same thing might happen than the last time, just fucking have sex again. If you have the opportunity, just do it. You know you want to do it. You know, you got to get to the point where you can show your body and yourself that you can have sex and be fine and actually enjoy it. Like, the only way you're going to get to that point is to have sex again, not to hide in fear and be like, well, what if this happens again? Yeah, it might. Deal with it. Like, have sex, learn from the situation, do something different, have a different response, move forward. Follow discomfort so you can grow. You know, and I know it's not easy. That's the whole point. Like, someone left a message and said, easier said than done. Yeah, no shit. Like, of course. The whole point of the message is you're waiting for it to be easy when it's just not going to be. So don't wait for that. Like, don't wait for it to be easy. Just do it. Take the action, even when you're uncomfortable. Take the action, even when your brain's telling you, well, it's her turn. You don't have to be like, fuck this. You always have to take the, like, just do it. Just do it. There are times when you're going to have to take a lot more action than your partner. It is not 50-50 all the time. It's not. And if you're in a relationship you're not happy about, you got to step up and you got to get in there and take all the action you can to make some changes and get your partner on board with you so that you can live a happy life. Otherwise, what are you going to sit there and wait for her to take the next action and then you're miserable? Like, what's the point in that? Just because it's her turn? Like, no. Take the action that you need to take to live a life you're proud of, you're confident, you're happy. And that comes with discomfort. That comes from feeling a certain way and just doing it anyway. And man, like, it's amazing. I do this too. You know, I'm a human. Like, I also feel fear and hesitation and I pull back on certain things I want to do because I'm afraid, of course. But the more and more I think of, the more and more aware I am of how I allow my mood sometimes to dictate my actions. It's like, oh, holy shit, that's so annoying. Like, oh, that like pisses me off. Like, I don't want my mood to dictate my actions. I want to just do the things, you know, and then gain confidence because I'm doing the things. I actually tested myself with this the other day, and I told myself that I was going to make 40 YouTube videos in a day. And this is something that I picked 40 because I made 40 videos in a day before when I was making a course. And I was telling someone about it. And this girl was like, oh my God, like that's insane. And I was like, yeah, I wonder, I mean, if I did it once, I could do it again, right? Like, and I was just thinking about that. And I started visualizing it. So for a week, I'm like on the Stairmaster and like I'm in the gym. That's my favorite time to visualize. And I'm visualizing me making these videos and wanting to give up and making excuses, but sitting back down and just focusing. And I would visualize myself like getting up from my desk and getting a drink and getting distracted and being like, oh, you'll finish tomorrow. It's fine. And in the visual, I just sat back down and I said, no, it's not fine. You're going to finish until you're done. And after a week went by of visualizing that, I decided that this past Tuesday was the day I was going to do it. And I told myself at the beginning of the day, no matter what happens, Stephanie, you will not stop until you reach 40. 40 videos you're proud of that you can publish. That's it. No excuses. You're going to hear a lot of excuses today. You're not going to listen to any of them. You're going to get 40 videos done. You will not sleep until these are done. And I literally talk to myself like that. Like when I have to put myself in a place to really see how far I could push myself, I have to be really stern. And I literally talk to myself like that. And throughout the day, sure enough, like after video by video, after 10 videos, I made my first excuse and was like, okay, that's like really good. I haven't done 10 videos in a long time. Like we're good. And then I was like, oh wait, well, no, we're not good. I have to do an outfit change. I have to recharge my phone. I have to delete space and I have to write up the next videos and go again. And then I did 20 and I was like, oh my God, okay, 20 is kind of ridiculous. Like, it's getting late. My voice is actually getting raspy. I'm going to hurt my voice if I keep doing this. This isn't smart. I should really be going to bed soon. And I could just finish tomorrow. I could do another 20 tomorrow. I'll be fine. And then I had to catch myself and be like, no, those are excuses. Like I told myself I would do this. Like I'm just getting uncomfortable. That's what's happening. I'm getting uncomfortable. And I had to do another dress change, do all the things and get back. And then it's getting really dark out. I have like 15 videos left to do. My phone is not letting me have more space. And I'm trying to delete all these things, but it's still not working. And I'm like, all right, this is a tech issue. It's not my fault. I'm just going to go to bed. I'll figure it out tomorrow. And like the amount, I think there were like 10 different excuses that I had in my head where I'm like, you should be proud of what you did already. You did enough. This is fine. This is great, actually. And it's funny because in my visual, the one thing I held on to was me texting Andrew because Andrew's been away on a trip for 11 days. And I imagine me texting him about doing 40 videos and him freaking out about it. And so when I was making all these excuses, I was like, that's not in my visual. Like I told Andrew in my visual, I did 40 in one day and I didn't get 40 yet. So I can't stop. I told myself 40. I promised myself 40. And it was such an interesting experiment because the amount of times I got up and felt uncomfortable and felt exhausted and made excuses and said, oh, this is draining. This isn't good for my brain. This isn't good for my throat. I'm like this is unnecessary. Why am I even doing this? I don't have to do 40 in a day. Like, what am I doing? This is stupid, and all this discomfort was trying to take me out of the action when really it's like, those are just feelings. All I had to do was do the action to prove that I could overcome these mental barriers and these voices that were trying to tell me to stop. And yeah, long story short, it's just something I was really proud of doing by the end of the night when I hit 40. It was just like, fuck yeah. Like, yeah. And then I texted Andrew and then he had the same reaction I anticipated. He actually was more surprised than I anticipated, but he was like, what the actual fuck? I'm like, oh man, it just felt like I climbed a fucking mountain. Like it felt like I told Andrew, because he's climbed Mount Shasta a bunch of times, and I said, I just did a mental Mount Shasta. Like, this is insane. It proved to myself that this whole concept of you can feel all the feelings, but you can still do anyway. And when you do, you gain confidence. And when you do, you feel really proud of yourself. And when you do, you want to tell people about it because you're so proud of yourself and you're like, I did that. Fuck yeah. And the same goes for you, like you're gonna have a lot of you, and a lot of you have told me this, that you really felt insecure and you felt ashamed and you felt nervous to have conversations with your wife or your girlfriend. And you just went with it, even though you felt all that shit. Like you felt so heavy and scared and uncomfortable and awkward and weird, and you fucking did it anyway. And you saved your marriage. You saved your sex life. You created this new relationship with your partner that you never even had, even before marriage or right after marriage. And that's because you chose to walk through the fear. You didn't let it stop you, and that's so, so powerful. And there's way too many of you guys who feel like I feel like a needy little bitch, like saying what I want. And like, why? Why do you feel like a needy bitch standing up for yourself? Ask yourself that question. Like, why does that make you a little bitch to stand up for what you want in your one and only life? Why does it make you feel like a needy little bitch to have your needs respected, which essentially is you being respected? So for you to feel fully respected, you feel like a little bitch for that? Something's not right there. Something tells me you need a little more respect for yourself if you're feeling that way about talking to your partner about your needs or about the fact that you're unhappy in your sex life the way it is, but that you want it to be better. I think sometimes you guys are just afraid of having these conversations because you have the right intention, but you go in framing them the wrong way. Like you go in framing it like saying something like, I'm really not happy with our sex life. And you just kind of end it there. And when you create that type of conversation starter, it kind of feels like you're blaming your partner. Like, I'm not happy with our sex life. Like she's like, what is she really going to say to that? It puts her in this place of like, this is really weird and uncomfortable. And like, I feel like now I have to be defensive because he's blaming me, like that's not going to go well. However, if you go back to what I said earlier and you think, okay, how can I talk to her and tell her the truth while being on the same team? Then it might sound something like, I really am not feeling fulfilled in our sex life and I want to be. I want to feel fulfilled with you. I love you. I want our relationship to work. I want us to feel like we have a great sex life. And yeah, I want to talk to you about that, about what that looks like for you. I wrote some notes down about what it looks like for me. So do you want some time to write yours down? Then we could talk about it. Like, that's a great way to frame a conversation because you're not just coming out with, I'm unhappy. You're saying, I'm not feeling happy with this, or I'm feeling unfulfilled with this, but I want to be fulfilled. Like, my intention is to make this work with you. Because that's where most of you guys are. Like, you want it to work. So don't forget to put in that team part, that we part together, us. Remember I mentioned those words? That's why these words are so powerful in conversations, especially in conflict, because you can come from this You can come from this place of like, I want to do this with you, but I feel like we're not there right now. And I'm wondering if you have any ideas on how we could get there. And I'll give you my ideas. It's like this, your teamwork. It's teamwork. It's your brainstorming. You're both making effort and you're speaking in a way where you want to both make effort. If a partner says to the other, like, you have to put in more effort. What does that mean? I don't know, but you just have to. Like, that's so unfair to both people when you talk that way, because that doesn't help you guys figure anything out. Now, if you're like, I love you, I want our marriage to work, but our sex life is really struggling right now in my eyes. Like I know I could speak for myself. I'm really feeling unfulfilled. And I'm wondering, are you feeling the same way? And we're just not talking about it? Like, let's start there. And then let's talk about what would be fulfilling for us. Like, you brainstorm it. You talk together, not at each other. You talk with each other by using the words together. We, us. I want this for us. I love us. I love our marriage. I want our marriage to work. I want our relationship to work. I care about you. I care about this relationship. I care about myself. I care about my sex life. I respect you. I respect our partnership. I want it to work. See how like these phrases are hard to fight with because they're showing, hey, I want the best for us, you know, instead of you make me unhappy. You don't do this. I'm unhappy with our sex life. Like that's kind of hard to talk with because it feels like you're talking at the person in that case. So yeah, I feel like I'm jumping all over the place today, this one. But the main thing is you have to look at not only like if you want your marriage and your relationship to be great, you want to look at the little things that are happening consistently to bring you together. Every day, what are things bringing you together? So if you can journal right now and write down, what are the signs that you're a romantic couple? What do you guys do or say? How do you touch? What do you do together? What do you surprise each other with? That makes it known you're a romantic couple. And some of you may have one thing where you're like, oh shit. Some of you may have nothing where you're like, wow, we really are roommates right now. No wonder why sex is hard. No wonder why sex feels so overstimulating or so inconsistent and I never know when it's going to happen again. Because your connection is not secure. You know, your day-to-day interactions are not romantic in the sense where you're building this consistent connection as romantic partners. And that's what needs to happen. You want to build that. And it doesn't have to be perfect for you guys to start having sex. It's not like you have to be all super flirty, and everyone has their own way of flirting. Like couples flirt in different ways. You don't have to be mushy-gushy. You don't have to be hypersexual, but you have to find that point of connection where there's a comfortability just being with each other and being with each other in that way where you can cuddle and you could kiss and you can gaze and you can touch without wincing or someone pulling away. Like you can show that you have a connection that is more than just your connection with your friends, you know? And when you have that, and you may want to have a conversation with your partner about this if you feel lost here. Like, hey, if we were more connected as a couple every day, what do you think we'd be doing differently? That's a good question to ask your partner. Even if you are connected, like, hey, if we were more connected romantically, what do you think we'd be doing more of or differently? If you felt more connected to me, what would we be doing differently? Or what would you want me to do more of or differently in order to feel more connected to me? I'm just coming up with different phrasing of the question, but take the one that fits your situation right now and either journal it out yourself and start initiating these small daily connection points, whether it's looking at her while you're walking past her instead of the opposite way, looking at her and smiling, right? That takes 2 seconds. Making her coffee if you know she makes it every morning. Just make it if you're up earlier and you're there. Do it for her. Leave a cute note. I love you. Have a great day. Smiley face, heart. Like something that's just going out of your way a little bit to connect and to show yourself, hey, we're going to prioritize the connection of this relationship so we could strengthen it. And so in turn, sex becomes this thing that is very easy to talk about and therefore to have. If you can talk about sex and consistently and easily, you can have great sex. But you usually don't have great sex if you can't talk about it. So start talking about your relationship. Start doing the things that show intimacy on a daily basis. Start making date nights and actually calling them date nights. Don't just say, hey, you want to go to dinner? Have date nights. Switch up the date nights so it's not always dinner. Get to see another side of each other. That's another way to flirt without trying. You just schedule a new date experience and you see another side of your partner, and it kind of shows this mysterious side of them that you're like, oh, I didn't know you're good at this. What? It might create some laughs. It creates a bonding experience if you're doing it for the first time. That's a really underrated one. Switch up your dates to see another side of your partner and bond more with your partner simply by doing a new thing together and seeing a new side of each other. It really, really makes a difference. And, if you can't afford date nights, you can play games in your house. You can buy a board game. Do that. You could play a game of cards. You can play a couples question game. You can cook together. You can even dance together, get creative if you have to be home. But it's possible. It's all about whether or not you're prioritizing it. And that's how you got to think. If you want to prioritize your sex life and you want a partner who prioritizes your sex life, you guys have to prioritize intimacy every day in some form. And it's the small things. We're not talking about big deal things. We're talking about looking at her when you're walking by her and smiling. That is not a big deal. That's not something you should be like, I have no time for that. It's texting her at work in the middle of your workday at lunch and you saying, hey, just want to say I miss you. Or I was just thinking of your face. How are you? Hey, beautiful. Anything like that. Calling her, FaceTiming her. If you only text her, maybe shoot her a FaceTime. Ask yourself how you can switch it up a little bit and feel closer to her. What would you be doing if you were to feel closer to her every day as your partner? So, yeah, definitely some things to journal about. And start with where you're at. Like I said, you don't have to jump to being hyper flirtatious if you never flirt, but take it up a notch from where you are right now. And it should be a little uncomfortable. It should be a little awkward, because if it's not, you're just doing the same shit and you're going to get the same thing. Think of it that way. If it's not uncomfortable or awkward, you're not growing. You're not moving anywhere. You're not improving. You're just doing the same stuff. It should feel a little weird. The conversation should feel hard. If they're new and there are conversations you've never talked about, they'll be a little difficult to have, and that's okay, right? Fuck your mood, follow the plan. Don't worry about the emotions that are driving you to have the conversation or not. If you know that conversation has to be had because you need this information or from her, or you need to get the information out, then you have it. You don't listen to your scaredy cat emotions because they're going to be there anyway. Just take the action and you'll be proud of yourself after. Just do it. Make the 40 videos. So ridiculous. But that was a really cool experiment of mine, just to prove to myself if I can fight my inner battles. Cause I knew there'd be inner battles, excuses being made. And it was it sounds so stupid because it's okay, that wasn't a big, why 40 videos, but it was to test my control over telling myself I want to do something and then hearing all these voices and excuses and moods and emotions and just going anyway, and then, so it was really cool. If you have any opportunity to do that with yourself, I highly recommend it. It sucks, of course, in the moment, but then you do it and you're like, whoa, I'm so much more productive or powerful or courageous than I thought. Holy shit, what if I did more of this? Where could I be? What could happen? So it's kind of cool. It's exciting to challenge yourself that way every once in a while or all the time. But that is it for this episode. I hope this spoke to you and helped you. And if it did speak to you and help you, please leave a review, especially on Apple. I would really appreciate it. Apple iTunes, because it would help the show grow. And yeah, it's time to get the show growing. You know, I don't promote it very much, but yeah, I've been posting every week for like 6 years. So it's time to get it out there to more people. And I would love your help with that. So if you find value in this, please rate and review. And I appreciate you. Have an amazing morning, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. And I'll talk to you soon.